The single dad witnesses. Their cruelty. How they treated the paralyzed girl like a burden. The rain had finished its argument with the city an hour ago, but the street still shone like a mirror. Adam Cole wheeled his daughter's little keyboard out of the trunk and checked his watch. He was 10 minutes early. He was always early on first lessons. It wasn't just professional, it was survival. Early meant time to breathe, time to watch, time to learn a room before it decided who you were. Lily tugged his sleeve. She was 9, small for her age, with a gap-toothed grin and a habit of carrying a backpack full of markers and questions. "Are you nervous?" Lily asked. "About what?" "Rich people," she said solemnly. Adam smiled. "Pianos don't care who your parents are." She nodded, thinking that through like a scientist. "Do I read in the car or can I sit inside?" "You can read inside," he said. "If they say it's okay." The house rose out of the wet street like it had been poured there. White stone, broad steps, glossy door, a chandelier already doing too much behind the glass. Adam pressed the bell. The chime sounded expensive. The door opened on a woman in a silk blouse the color of money. Her hair was sharp. Her smile was large and not about him. "You must be Mr. Cole," she said. "I'm Vanessa. The piano is in the front room. Chloe is very talented. Great to meet you," Adam said. "This is my daughter Lily. She'll keep herself busy in a corner if that's all right." Vanessa's eyes slid to the little keyboard case and back to his face. "Of course," she said, and the words yes and no tangled in her throat until yes won for public relations. They followed her into a room that looked like a magazine had rented it. A black grand piano sat under a window like a panther at rest. The walls were pale. The art was abstract and expensive. The only soft thing in the room was the light. Chloe arrived a moment later, 13 and glossy, in a dress that said influencer and eyes that said she was bored of everything. She had her phone in her hand and a sneer rehearsed to perfection. "Hi," Adam said, gentle. "I'm Adam. Do you like music?" "I like songs," Chloe said. "Piano is..." "Fine. Fine is a start," Adam said. "We can build on fine." Lily sat up in an armchair with a book and watched with the contained attention of a cat. The first lesson was always listening. Chloe's posture was all pose until Vanessa leaned in the doorway, and then Chloe straightened and tried for good. They worked through middle C and how hands sit like they have tiny balloons tied to each finger. They talked about rhythm and how a song is just a map to the place you were already headed. Chloe's answers were quick and shallow. She played enough to look like she was playing. She looked at the window every 5 seconds like it owed her something. On the second page of the premiere, someone coughed in the hall. It wasn't the cough of someone with a cold. It was the cough of someone reminding the air they existed. Adam turned his head. In the shadow beyond the doorway, a wheelchair sat just out of the room's border as if unwilling to be a stain on fancy. In the chair was a young girl. Her hair was blonde and tie-high ponytail. Her body wore a kindness in its stillness that made Adam's chest ache for reasons he didn't understand yet. Vanessa's smile didn't move, but something behind it did. "Mira," she said too brightly. "Back to your room." "We're busy." Mira's hands were quiet on her lap. She had one of those old lady shawls around her shoulders like she had stolen it from time to keep warm. Her eyes were a room with the windows open. She looked at the piano the way some people look at the ocean, like it might forgive them. "I'm sorry," Adam said, before he had time to decide to be cautious. "You can stay and listen if you'd like." "I don't mind extra ears," Vanessa's smile cracked. "She gets overexcited," she said in a voice that translated to, "She wants too much." "I'll be quiet," Mira said softly. The voice was there, careful and small, but the wheelchair had tricked Adam into thinking she might not speak. He felt foolish for the thought and grateful for the correction. "Let her stay," Chloe said suddenly, surprising everyone including herself. Then with a flick of her eyes at the doorway, she added, "Just for today." Mira rolled forward 2 inches. That was when the stepmother's daughter shot her a look that told a different story. The look said, "Don't breathe too loud in my rooms." The look said, "Remember your place." It lasted a second. It said enough. Adam nodded to Mira and turned back to the keys. "Okay, Chloe, show me the C scale again." Hands light, wrists soft, Chloe played. It was adequate. It was fine. When the lesson ended, Vanessa pressed an envelope into Adam's hand like she was doing him a favor. "We'll see you Wednesday," she said. "Thank you," Adam replied. Lily waved at Mira and said, "I like your braid." Mira touched the shawl. "I like your book. Maybe we can trade," Lily said. "I'm a good borrower. That's what my grandma says." "Lils," Adam said gently. "Not everyone wants to share." He smiled at Mira. "But it's a kind offer." Mira smiled back. It was a small thing. It reached into places Adam had taped shut. On Wednesday, Adam was 5 minutes early again. The front door was cracked. Voices traveled like knives. "You don't need a second serving," Vanessa said. "I'm still hungry," Mira said, apologetic like hunger was a crime. "You sit all day," Vanessa snapped, not loudly but with the precision of someone who loves the clean hit more than the volume. "You don't burn anything. Food costs money." "I can make my own," Mira said. "It won't. You can't even carry a plate," Vanessa said. "Go to your room." Chloe stood by the fridge chewing something she'd stolen without asking. She didn't look up. She didn't look down either. It takes practice to be that pointedly neutral. Adam tightened his grip on the keyboard case. Lily looked up at him, eyes wide. Vanessa turned, saw them, transformed in an instant. "Mr. Cole," she sang. "Come in." Adam wanted to say he'd come in the minute the house had earned him, but Lily squeezed his hand and he smiled instead. "Because you had to teach children how to survive, not just how to win." The second lesson went the way the first had gone, with Chloe doing the minimum a little prettily, and Mira listening from the shadows as if listening counted as breathing. When they finished, Chloe said she was tired. Vanessa said she was brilliant. Adam packed the primer. "Could I—" he began, gesturing toward the hall where Mira had disappeared. "Could you what?" Vanessa asked with the syrup. "Play something for your other daughter," he said, plain. "Sometimes people who don't play are the most musical. They hear everything." Vanessa's mouth went thin. "Mira is very sensitive. She gets ideas. It's best she not get ideas." Adam heard what she was saying, and he also heard the missing pieces. Ideas like hope, ideas like a future, ideas like I'm allowed. He folded the cover of the primer closed and said, "Understood." On the way out, he left a scrap of paper by the vase in the hall. It was a simple note. "If you ever want to hear a song just for you, I'll be on the porch at 6. He didn't know if Mira would find it. He didn't know if she would be allowed to. He didn't know if he was inviting trouble. He knew only that silence is a kind of violence when it's enforced. At 6, he and Lily sat on the porch steps and he put the little keyboard on his lap and played a lullaby his mother had liked when the world was unfair, and they didn't have the words for it. He kept the volume low. He kept his eyes on the street. Behind the lace of the front window curtain there was the shape of a girl in a chair and the outline of a face that might have been crying or might just have been damp from the humid air. Lily wrote something with a marker and slid it in under the door. The paper came back 2 minutes later with a careful answer. "What's your favorite song?" "Anything that believes people are better tomorrow than they were yesterday." "Lies that a real song?" "It should be." Hell, the next week, Adam taught Chloe scales with patience he didn't always feel. He told stories about how a chord is just 3 notes agreeing to be friends. He talked about rhythm like a heartbeat. He slipped the second chair closer to the doorway without making a show of it. And Mira rolled into the light 2 inches because sometimes 2 inches is the biggest movement of a week. He watched the house the way his mother had taught him to watch men who told you who they were by how they walked into a room. He saw Chloe become a parrot when Vanessa hovered and a kid when she didn't. He saw the housekeeper avert her eyes when Vanessa's voice sharpened. He noticed small jars of protein shakes in the pantry labeled with Mira's name and a lock on the snack cabinet. He saw the wheelchair's hand rims were scuffed where someone had used them like brakes on stairs. He went home and put his forehead on the kitchen table and breathed in through the pain and out through the plan. "Are we going to help her?" Lily asked, perched on a chair like a wise owl that only eats truths. "We're going to be careful," Adam said, "and brave, and kind even when it's hard." "Kindness is my favorite rebellion," Lily said, and wrote that down in her notebook like a spell. On Friday, he asked Chloe to improvise. "Pick any 3 notes," he said, "and make something up." "That's stupid," Chloe said. "It's how every song you love started," he said. "Someone being brave about sounding dumb." Chloe rolled her eyes and plunked 3 notes. It sounded like someone bumping into furniture in the dark. Adam smiled like she'd handed him a map. "Perfect," he said. "Now fix it," she tried. It got less clumsy. It got almost pretty. And there, in the doorway, Mira closed her eyes and let the almost pretty lay on her like sunlight. After lesson 3, Vanessa remembered a call and left Adam to pack up alone. Chloe, liberated, slumped on the bench and said, in a voice that finally belonged to a kid, "Is it fun being poor?" Lily choked on a gummy bear. Adam set his jaw. "Sometimes it's very efficient," he said lightly. "We don't waste time figuring out which fork is for soup." Chloe chewed that like a fact. "My stepmom says poor people always want something." "Everyone wants something," Adam said. "Wealthy people just have better manners about asking." Mira's laugh slipped out without permission, small and scandalous. Chloe shot her a look, but it didn't have its usual power. Something in the room had learned a new trick. When Vanessa came back, Chloe sat straight and asked about arpeggios, and Vanessa glowed like she had transformed the child with motherhood. On the way out, Adam said, "I also teach group lessons at the community center on Saturdays. There's a ramp. If Mira ever wants to come here, kids make mistakes and not die of it. Mira has..." "Appointments," Vanessa said. "What kind?" Adam asked kindly. "The kind that cost money," Vanessa said, which was not an answer but was an answer. Mira from the doorway mouthed, "Saturday." "Time." Adam lifted 2 fingers. 2 o'clock, he said to the air, as if speaking to the house. At 2 o'clock Saturday, the community center smelled like basketball and lemon cleaner. Children banged on electronic pianos with enthusiasm and no respect for keys. Adam loved them for it. Anyone who says they love music but can't stand children banging on pianos doesn't love what music actually is. Joy trying to organize itself. At 2:17, the automatic door from the parking lot hissed open. The housekeeper from Vanessa's home rolled Mira in, panting, a martyr's apology on her lips. "The missus is out," she said, "and I told the driver it was an errand." "Thank you," Adam said, and meant it. Lily ran over to Mira as if she'd been waiting her whole life, which, in a way, she had. Kids like Lily collect people like Mira the way birds collect bright things, not to own them but to adore the way they shine. "Want to sit by me?" Lily said. "If I sit by you, no one will notice me breaking the rules," Mira said with a small smile that made something in Adam unclench. He propped a small keyboard on a rolling tray table, adjusted it so Mira could reach with her left hand. He'd noticed that hand could travel some while the right sat quieter and showed her how to press one key, and then the neighbor, and then listen like the keys were telling secrets. The room was chaos in the good way for 40 minutes. On the drive back, the housekeeper cried quietly at a red light and said, "I'm sorry," to nobody in particular. "Don't be," Adam said. "You did a brave thing." "I could get fired," she said. "Or you could sleep tonight," Lily said from the back seat, as if she loaned out her courage in small, practical amounts. For 3 weeks, the lessons went like that. Wednesday and Friday at the fancy house with Chloe on the bench and Mira in the doorway. Saturday at the community center where being imperfect was the price of admission. Adam watched Vanessa's mouth for signs of storms. He watched Chloe's hands become more music and less defiance. He watched the housekeeper become a bridge. Then on a Wednesday, he saw Vanessa push the wheelchair too fast over the threshold and heard the scrape of metal against wood and saw Mira flinch in the way that says this isn't new. He set his case down. "May I show you something?" Adam asked Vanessa, his voice so polite it took a second to hear the steel. "What is it?" Vanessa asked. "If you pull back on the handrims here, the chair doesn't catch," he said, demonstrating with permission that wasn't given, but couldn't be reasonably refused. "It keeps her from jerking." "I know how to push a chair," Vanessa said, eyes narrowing. "Of course," Adam said. It just looked uncomfortable for her. "Everything is uncomfortable for her," Vanessa said, as if stating the weather. "We do what we can." He didn't say the thing that stood up in his throat, that we was doing the wrong things. He said understood, because sometimes the shortest path to helping is through a field of things you do not say. 2 nights later, after closing the hardware store where he picked up night shifts when Lily was with his sister, Adam passed the big house again. A light was on in the front room. He heard music, not from a stereo but from a phone speaker, sharp, repetitive. He saw a shadow move across the window, a shadow that looked like a hand raised in anger. He pulled over, didn't think about it, walked to the door, knocked. Vanessa opened it half an inch, eyebrows at war. "It's 9, she said. "Do you know what time is, Mr. Cole?" "I heard something," he said. I wanted to check. You are our piano teacher, she said. Not security. Go home. Behind her, a glass clinked. Mira's voice, small, trembled. I can clean it up. If you didn't spill, Vanessa said, flat as tile, there would be nothing to clean. Adam's hands curled to fists and he unfolded them on purpose. I'll see you Friday, he said, and left because he couldn't win a war on a doorstep. He called the housekeeper. Her voice shook. She drops plates when she's nervous, the woman said. They make her serve when guests come so she'll learn grace. She tries to be good. She always tries. Thank you, Adam said. He hung up and stared at the steering wheel like it might turn into a solution. He had learned in the years since Lily's mother left for a different life that sometimes you can't stop the storm. You can only build a boat. On Friday, he taught Chloe Schubert and didn't flinch when she rolled her eyes. He asked Mira if she wanted to play the left hand of a lullaby with him after the lesson, while Vanessa took a call. Mira nodded, bright with terror and hunger. He positioned the little keyboard on her lap, showed her how to press the notes me do with the weight of a feather. She did. The sound was small and perfect. That's you, he said quietly, making a thing that didn't exist a second ago. She bit her lip. Tears startled out and she swallowed them like she was apologizing to the air for taking up space. Vanessa came back and clapped her hands. How productive, she said brightly. Chloe, darling, say thank you. Thanks, Chloe muttered. Not like you're choking, Vanessa snapped. Smile, Chloe smiled, brittle. Adam packed the keyboard. Vanessa escorted him to the door and said, in a voice people use to discuss weather in countries they don't live in, Mira gets very attached to people. It's unhealthy. Attachment is a normal human response to not being alone, Adam said, before he could kill the sentence in his throat. Consequences. In the kitchen, Mira sat on the tile, her chair tipped. A glass of water spilled across the floor like accusation. Her knee was cut. Her eyes were huge. Vanessa stood with her arms crossed. You left her on the floor? Adam said, and understood his voice was a new thing in this house. She needs to learn cause and effect, Vanessa said. She needs a Band-Aid, Lily said, furious in the way of small gods. Adam righted the chair, lifted Mira carefully, set her in, checked her knee with hands that had learned first aid in night classes and old lives. We're going to urgent care, he said. You are not, Vanessa said. We are, Adam said. And then I'm calling someone who will stop you from deciding that humiliation is a lesson. You don't know this family, Vanessa said. I know enough, he said. I know when the only soft thing in a house is the light. He took Mira out. He took Lily's hand. He didn't look back. At urgent care, the doctor stitched the cut and asked questions with eyes. Adam answered what he could and implied what he couldn't yet prove. He filed a report. He called Carla Monroe at Family Services because sometimes the right names are repeated for a reason, in a universe that would like to believe in patterns. Carla met them there. Hair clipped up, coffee in one hand, clipboard in the other. She listened. She asked questions like doors. She looked at Lily the way adults should look at children, with respect. She crouched in front of Mira. Do you feel safe at home? Carla asked. Mira looked at Adam, then at the floor, then said, I feel quiet at home. Quiet isn't the same as safe, Carla said gently. Do you want to stay somewhere else tonight? Mira looked at the ceiling like the answer might be printed on a tile. I want to go where music is, she said finally. That's a yes, Carla said to Adam. He nodded, stunned at the speed with which a life can turn when a lever is pulled by the right hands. We've got a couch, he said, and a roof that leaks sometimes, but only in the corner. Temporary placement with the Coles, Carla said, writing. We'll do emergency paperwork and a home check in the morning. Don't panic. Your house doesn't have to look like television. It has to look like love. They went home in the blue hour. Adam set up the couch with clean sheets and a lumpy pillow he apologized for. Lily taped one of her glitter drawings to the wall above it, a sun with too many rays and a smiley face so big it refused sadness. Do you need anything? Adam asked Mira when the apartment had gone soft with the sounds of a place deciding to accept a new person. I need to not be in the kitchen, she said, and then, as if spending a wish, can the window be open? He opened the window. The night came in smelling like wet concrete and jasmine from the neighbor's balcony. They slept the way fugitives sleep, with their shoes where their hands can find them. Monday morning, everything official began. Carla walked through the apartment with her checklist and her humor. She checked the fire alarm and said, "It chirps. That's a good sign." She opened the fridge and said, "Grapes. I respect that." She asked Lily if she liked the couch fort, and Lily said, "We're calling it a guest suite, actually." She asked Mira if she felt okay, and Mira said, "For the first time in a long time." Yes, Vanessa predictably exploded. She called. She threatened. She said words like abduction and lawsuit and moral decay. Adam set his phone face down and told Carla in his own heartbeat that he would not be baited into anger so hot it burned the only bridge they needed. A court date was set for a temporary custody hearing. Adam worked and then left work early. He taught Chloe on Wednesday because he had given his word, and he watched the girl be rude and cruel, and then, later, when rolled away from Vanessa's field of gravity, try to say sorry in the only language she had, by playing better than she had ever played before. "Does she hate me?" Chloe asked suddenly, fingers faltering. "Who?" Adam asked. "My mom," Chloe whispered. Adam looked at the girl like she was a person. "I think your mom knows how to control a room," he said. "Sometimes people confuse control with love." Chloe's eyes went bright and terrified. She pressed a key too hard. "I don't want to be like her," she said. "You don't have to be," Adam said. "You get to write your own sheet music." She laughed, quick and bitter. "That's cheesy." "It's also true," he said. On the day of the hearing, the courtroom smelled like old air and new pencils. Vanessa wore a suit of money and a face of outrage. Her attorney talked about routine discipline and ungrateful children, and a piano teacher exceeding his position. Adam stood in a suit he'd borrowed from his brother-in-law, and said only the things the judge needed, dates and times and the way a knee bleeds. Carla testified. The housekeeper testified. Chloe, to everyone's shock, asked to speak. The judge frowned but allowed it. Chloe walked up in her too short dress and stared bluntly at the bench and said, "Sometimes my mom forgets people are real when they're not in pictures." Her voice shook. The truth did not. In the end, the judge signed a piece of paper that said Mira would stay with Adam and Lily for 90 days pending investigation. Services, whatever it is systems call the moments they figure out how to be humane. They went home. They made noodles badly and laughed when they stuck together like friends who didn't want to be separated. They watched a movie that Lily had seen 12 times and that Mira watched like the first time was a holiday. Adam sat at the small table afterward and cried quietly into his hands because sometimes happiness hurts on the way in. The next months unfolded like a map you had forgotten you knew how to read. Physical therapy began. Mira's right hand learned tiny journeys. She learned to use a transfer board without shame. She learned that asking for help wasn't the same as giving up. She learned to say no and have it hold. Lily learned that good nights are louder in threes. She taught Mira how to draw a sun the size of a page. She taught Adam how to braid hair that had been ignored. She deputized them both into her sticker economy with a solemn oath. Music threaded through all of it. Adam taught Mira to play one-note melodies with her left hand, and to hum the notes she couldn't yet reach. He moved the keyboard lower, then higher, then angled. He watched her face when sound landed right and saw a person rebuilding herself where the world couldn't see. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed and the neighborhood had put away its noise, Adam sat on the floor beside the couch and said, "I want to ask you something I'm afraid to ask." Mira looked at him with the kind of trust that makes questions heavier. "Do you want to press charges?" He asked. "About any of it." She looked at the window, at the cracked paint, at the sticker sun on the fridge. "I want to press play," she said. "On my life," he nodded. "Okay," he said. "We'll do that." Vanessa howled in corners of the city Adam chose not to enter. She sent messages through lawyers and brittle emails about reputation. She told anyone who would listen that he had seduced the help and stolen a cripple. The people who needed to believe her did. The others were busy. The case ground forward on small wheels. Every now and then Chloe texted a photo of a music sheet or a cat meme and said, "Don't tell her I sent this." Adam didn't. Winter softened into a bright, anxious spring. On a Tuesday that smelled like new leaves, Mira wheeled onto the porch with the little keyboard on her lap and said, "I made something." "Play it," Adam said, and Lily, barefoot, sat cross-legged to listen like a disciple. It was halting and imperfect and beautiful, the way all birth is. 3 notes, then a pause, 4 in a row that made an almost scale, a skip, a return. She looked up. cheeks flushed like a girl who had run a mile without moving. "That's it?" she said defensively. Before anyone could pity, "That's everything," Adam said, and meant it in ways he couldn't explain without breaking. "Name it," Lily decreed. With the seriousness of small monarchs, Mira thought.
"Stand," she said, and then, because she was herself, she laughed softly and shrugged.
"Even though I can't." "You did," Adam said. Summer brought court orders with stamps on them that said what everyone in the small apartment already knew. Mira would not go back. Her life would move forward in a place where hunger wasn't a sin. Vanessa was ordered to take a class with a title that made Adam wince. Some people didn't need classes, they needed hearts. Chloe started attending Saturday sessions and learned to play things that weren't just impressive, but joyful. She stopped sneering like it was a language. She started breathing like she meant it. There is a way love arrives when you build a house out of honesty. It doesn't knock loud. It makes coffee quietly and puts water on for tea. It fixes the wobbly chair and memorizes the prescription schedule and learns the shape of silence that means I'm thinking, not I'm sad. It sits on the porch beside you and listens to a song you can't yet play and calls that music. Adam didn't plan to fall in love with Mira. There is a version of the story he could have written where he kept his heart in a box labeled teacher and never opened it. But boxes are for shoes and old Christmas ornaments. Hearts are for living things. He noticed her before he admitted he noticed. The way she talked to plants like they were shy. The way she remembered to ask Lily about spelling tests and didn't pretend to care. The way she laughed with her whole body when the dog from downstairs made a sound like a trumpet, and then looked embarrassed. He noticed how careful she was with his exhaustion, and how generous she was with her gratitude, and how her strength looked different than his, and exactly the same. One night, the air brittle with heat. They sat on the floor in front of the fan, and she said, "Can I tell you something?" "Anything," he said. "When you first came to the house," she said, "I thought you were just another nice person who would leave." "I thought I was just another person who could play piano," he said. She smiled. "You stayed," she said. "You did," he said. "In the world." She looked down at her hands, at the left one that did the work and the right one that did less. "I don't know how to be a person who deserves this," she said quietly. "You and Lily, this sunlight, you already are," he said. "You were even in the dark. Light just shows it better," she swallowed. A tear slipped and she didn't apologize to it. "I think I love you," she said, like stepping onto ice that might hold. He laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because sometimes relief sounds like laughter. "I know I love you," he said. She looked at him, then at the fan, then back at him. "Is this allowed?" she asked, practical in the way of survivors. "Yes," he said. "We asked the universe." It stamped the form. It said, "Proceed with courage," like they didn't rush. They added. They folded. They told Carla, who nodded like she'd seen messier miracles. They told Lily, who said, "Obviously," and made them friendship bracelets because she believed in ritual. They told the mirror, and it told their faces, and their faces looked like people who had been found. The wedding wasn't a wedding like magazines like. It was 24 friends in a park, where the ramp to the gazebo had a railing that didn't wobble. It was Lily in a yellow dress because yellow is a happy color and we are happy now. It was Chloe standing in the second row, clapping like she meant it. With mascara she had learned to put on herself and a phone that stayed in her pocket for the whole ceremony. It was the housekeeper crying like a woman who had chosen courage again and survived it. It was Carla giving a toast that didn't sound like a report. It was a song Mira played on the little keyboard with Adam's right hand under hers and Lily's left hand on the drum of the table. It was ordinary magic. Vows were said in plain words. "I promise to make the world kinder inside our doors," Adam said. "I promise to fix what I can and sit with what I can't and never, ever leave you on the floor." "I promise to believe in mornings," Mira said, voice steady. "I promise to let you help me and to help you when you forget that you need it. I promise to choose music even when it sounds like 3 wrong notes in a row. I promise to be loud at concerts and quiet when you nap," Lily said, inserting herself with the authority of daughters. "I promise to share stickers and to tell you when you're wrong, nicely. And if anyone is mean, I promise to look at them like this." She made a face. People laughed. People cried. The dog from downstairs barked once for punctuation. They signed papers. They ate cake that wasn't gluten-free and nobody died. The sun slid down and the string lights did their job. The city breathed around them like a big, tired animal that for one night decided to be gentle. Later, when the guests had gone and Lily had fallen asleep in a pile of tulle with frosting on her cheek, Adam wheeled Mira onto the little square of balcony where they had grown basil in a coffee can. The night looked like it used to before it knew them and like it knew them now. He knelt so their eyes were level. "Do you want to dance?" he asked. "I'm sitting," she said. "I know," he said. He took her left hand and put his other hand lightly on her shoulder where the shawl once had been. He swayed. She laughed. He moved the chair an inch, then another, in a kind of waltz that didn't care what waltzes are supposed to look like. "This is ridiculous," she said. "This is perfect," he said. "Both things can be true," she said, and leaned her forehead against his. On the fridge, a new drawing joined the old. 3 stick figures, one tall, one in a chair with stars around the wheels, one small with impressive hair, under a sun that had finally learned scale. The caption read in Lily's careful letters, "Use," when people asked. Later, for the short version, the first line was always the same. A single dad went to teach a rich girl piano and found a paralyzed girl being treated like a burden. He witnessed their cruelty. He didn't look away. He built a boat, he rowed. She learned to name the waves and then to love the water. The longer version took years and chores and paperwork and the practice of small joys. It took midnight fevers and new ramps and laughter when the gravy went wrong. It took therapy appointments and the first time Mira transferred without help, and the day Lily brought home a permission slip that said, "Family picnic," and meant them. It took the day Chloe came over with a bag of oranges and an apology that tasted like effort, and the day Vanessa drove by slowly and kept going because the house did not belong to her anymore. It took music, which is to say it took faith disguised as sound. On a Tuesday 2 years later, after school and after homework and after therapy, where Mira had learned a new trick with her right hand that made the therapist clap quietly, Adam found a cheap upright piano on a community board and convinced 4 friends to help him bring it up the stairs with curses and jokes. He tuned it by ear while Lily told the piano it was loved now and therefore had responsibilities. When Mira rolled over and touched a key with the hand that used to be silent, the note came out true. "What's that?" Lily asked. "Middle C," Adam said. "No," Lily said. "What's the song going to be called?" Mira thought, then smiled. "Home," she said. They played it together. Adam filling the right, Mira anchoring the left, Lily banging the low notes at the wrong times and turning it into perfection. And if the world outside had cruelty in it still, and it did, the room did not. The room had one wrong note after another turning into a melody that made sense because they refused to quit on it. And that is how the story ends. If stories end, not with a gavel or a headline, but with a Tuesday night and a song named Home. The single dad who wouldn't look away. The girl they tried to teach to be small, learning to take up all the space a life is supposed to take. The kid who believed kindness is a rebellion and made it law in their house. The light being the softest thing inside the door but not the only soft thing anymore.